No, we don't have to do that, but that's how we're getting started. So
They'll include the man from Nantucket, though. That caliber.
whoever's watching this, we thank you in advance. Nathan here with Mark and Jeremy and Doug, and we are talking about business development. And we all share a couple things in common with how we say we do business development and how we're trying to innovate. So we thought we'd sit down here this morning and document some of the craziness, some recent successes, and maybe some changes too that we've all been making. So, since I already picked on Jeremy, I'm going to nominate you to go first and just share something, what's working.
So interestingly enough, people are scared of business and they don't know how to grow. They're thinking negatively because that's what a lot of people tend to do in these times of uncertainty. So what I found is working is purchasing businesses, buying customers. I've got my son's company, Superior Lawn, has 103 customers, and he got in touch with a guy who wants to be a day trader. He's got 93 customers. He's got one employee. It's in my area. And so I'm purchasing his clients list from him Thursday I got my accountant on the line. I got the money all lined up, and Thursday my son's business will double. And that allows us to hire an employee and makes my son now the inspector general to go and speak to 200 folks. And what it does, because he's got an interesting story, he gets to be personal with every single customer now, because he'll be now an inspector instead of a laborer. And that will give him a chance to ingratiate himself to our customers that don't really know Garrett and his story. He's only 19 years old, but it will also allow him a chance to upsell every single customer. You look like you need some mulch there. You look like you need some rock. And of course, at 19, he could do it. So he won't affect the crew's productivity. So really, don't be scared. Warren Buffett says, blood's in the water. Now's the time to buy. And so we are doing just that. We've already bought 2 companies since the COVID happened, a 14 customer, 23 customer. This is a bit more aggressive at 93, but we're growing.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So push the envelope, acquire, make moves.
If you've got the confidence, and our business is not really related or affected too much because you're a guy, we're all a person. We have some women too, but they're covered from the sun in Florida anyway. So we already have face coverings, and they're by themselves on a lawnmower or on a weed eater, and not really too much customer interface. And so it's ideal for us.
That's innovative. I love it, Jeremy. Yeah. Congrats on that. That's I'm glad to hear that that's how you're looking at growing the business. Number one, when you talked about being personal with everybody, I think that's huge. How do you create relationship in a shout out to the man, the myth, the legend, Steve Nudelberg. But that's really what we focus on talking about all the time with no matter who it is that we're working with, is how are you developing relationship? Not all businesses are relationship-based transactions, right? Like a lot of businesses are just, when you walk in to buy a stick of gum or a pack of gum somewhere, there's no real relationship behind that. But if you can find a way to develop relationship within transactional business, that can lead to incremental growth rapidly, because all of a sudden there's this bond there that wasn't there before, which I think is the same as, talking about how people are networking in this world that we're living in, where nobody's going outside, so what virtual events are you attending that you're connecting with the other people that were at that event? What are you doing on your social media? How are you holding events? How are you going to events? What are you doing to create community, either around yourself or join somebody else's, in order to help you build relationships with people that you would have never gotten to before? Like, I think that this is a huge positive for people, that everybody's been pushed to a virtual environment, because it's removed the geographical boundary of networking. You could only network where you could go. You go to your community chamber event, you go to this networking event, you go to this happy hour, you meet this group of people. It was all wherever you could get to physically. That's gone now. Yeah. Right? What LinkedIn local event have you gone to sit there? Maybe you learn something, maybe you don't, but at least you're going to see everybody's name there, and you're then able to follow up with those people saying, hey, you and I were in the event together. Would love to have a virtual cup of coffee to spend some time, something like that. Like, how are you leveraging all of the virtual events that are going on, and then the access to the people that you get from that?
And the issue that we have to really understand is with this new format of business, of virtual business, because it's always been virtual friendships. I'm now friends with these people I don't know, and they're seeing my pictures and they're seeing my post, but they don't know me, and they don't need to know me, because what pays on that platform are the views. But on LinkedIn, business pays. And so the difference between your contacts and the contract is that letter R, and that's relationship building. And
I like that one. Jeremy, did you write that down? Is that in the book?
That's a Steve Noodleberg original there.
Okay, Steve.
And
okay, he's been referenced twice already. Not surprised.
There's no doubt.
So you really have to go, okay, this is, I know how to do social, but you don't know how to do business social. And it's about following up, okay? Doing your video, Yardbirds and all that stuff. Marc turned me onto that stuff, and it's been so I've gotten more feedback from almost anything. In fact, I had Ronell Richards, a little virtual coffee, and that guy is, oh yeah, thank you, Doug, and I gave you credit, but he's like, tell me, I'm going to do my Ronell impression. Tell me. How many?
And I mean,
how many people sent you a video?
And Doug is doing it. Like this network is really interesting.
That's in that. It's in that group. Yep.
Jeremy and I work together, right? Doug's connected to me through our daily huddle that we do. And Nathan, you and I connected because I prospected you. I saw you show up in my world.
You know why, though?
I saw you show up in my world, and I was like,
you know why?
I want to, why?
I never told you this. It's because I was prospecting Steve.
There you go.
No. Boo, boo. No, I saw that's the way it works. Long ago, but you're right. It ends up that way in our networks because you start seeing those shared connections. And I'm like, I saw a video long ago of Steve. I'm like, who's this guy? And then, and then you start showing up. And then I think Doug, we've got the Buffalo connection, right? I think that was originally through some mutual connections in Buffalo through medical. Yeah. No, Marc, you're exactly right, though, and that's what you guys demonstrate. And then it didn't take long before we started seeing that, hey, we're some of us have mutual clients, mutual, overlaps in different advisory groups or groups pockets. We wouldn't have known that without really building those relationships and asking that next question. Because you see, everybody, I think, there was this early race for connections and vanity numbers, right? Connect with everybody. Yeah, but who do you actually have the relationship? Jeremy noted Steve's quote, the actual relationship, take the time to do something. Doug, I think I saw a post of yours a year ago, this month, actually. It was a year ago this month, and it was one of those long form ones where you were mentioning specific people and specific things you knew about them and appreciated about how they networked. And I think you tagged me in one of them, and you said something, you made up something nice. But that was like my along the line networking with you. Talk about that, because I know you had some discoveries and how you told me about that a year ago and how that's paid off maybe now. I think that's interesting.
Well, I mean, I love what Jeremy and Marc are saying. A kind of a blend. I was just letting them go there because the two of them are blending together is something that I've been thinking a lot about. This whole situation, I gravitate on LinkedIn. I probably gravitate towards entrepreneurs and people, but I'm not one myself. And that gives me a little bit of a different perspective. I give all the credit in the world to people who are out there and it's their own business, Jeremy, Marc, and you, Nathan. I mean, there's a lot that comes with that. But one of the things, there was a temptation. I think there was a lot for salespeople. Think of me as just a salesperson, and for a moment, there was a temptation there for a lot of salespeople to pull back when this whole thing started, to not, it's not the right time to sell, and no, it's not the right time to sell. You have to sell a different way. That's what that's what this thing has taught. I think a lot of people is that you have to sell in a different way. So to Jeremy's point, it's not a time to stop, and to Marc's point, it's a time to move forward also in how you're doing it. You have to figure out different ways to connect with people. And and this is where it's funny. A year ago, I went to my former boss asked me to come in and talk to his sales team. I used to be on that sales team. And so many people were resistant to just even updating their LinkedIn profile. I'm not even talking about content, right? I'm like, just update it, because people are going to see that when they search for you. It's sometimes the first or second thing that comes up when they Google your name, right? Now everybody's scrambling. How do we get right? So regardless of whether or not you're putting out content, do you know how to leave somebody a voice message on LinkedIn? I mean, you have all the tools in your bag at this point to try and do business, because whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a salesperson, because the what you used to have isn't there anymore. It's not available. Knocking on someone's door, stopping into a doctor's office and visiting, doing a lunch and learn. I mean, you might not hear about lunch and learn till 2025.
But you can just add a word, brother. Virtual lunch and learn.
Virtual, yeah. I'm eating, I got a snack right here.
So it's interesting.
That's a great point, though. That's a great point.
Yeah.
There's two ways that people look at it. Is that it's never been harder to build relationships with people because you can't get in person with people, but actually it's never been easier to build relationships with people because of so many points of access. Like how many different social media platforms are they on? Just one? Okay, well, that's one more point of access than you had, then with their cell phone, then with their email, then with their landline, whatever it is. Like, and so like Doug's talking about, having all of the tools, the fundamentals of sales hasn't changed, right? The ability to follow up and the cadence and prospecting, all of that is the same, but how you do it has to evolve. Yep. So I think that's where people get confused. It's like, oh, well, this has worked forever, so this is the way we should do it. Yeah, the fundamentals worked forever, but the actual tactic has to change and evolve all the time.
And I'm behind. I mean, I would like to, I've been saying for a long time I should put out more content. I've been saying I should learn how to do better, videos and get more creative with my posts and things like that. But when I look at people who were, I hate to compare, but you look at some other people who were just resistant to the idea of doing anything, socially, virtually. The idea of a Zoom meeting for people some people a year ago, especially, I hate to say it, older salespeople. I mean, people who've been at it for a while were resistant to the idea of doing things virtually or using, virtual, connections and connecting, online versus in person. They were resistant to it, and then all of a sudden, they kind of got, they got a rude awakening, so to speak. So the idea that I was doing some of that ahead of time has helped me quite a bit. But I think, back to Jeremy's point. So you got Marc, who's, it was great to listen to the two of you, because Marc's talking about, hey, listen, you gotta get creative now. You gotta change, keep selling, but change the way you sell. And Marc's saying, hey, listen, it's even out, time to identify some opportunities. So yeah, I was tempted. I mean, I don't mind saying I was tempted for a little bit there to kind of to throttle down. But the good news is, because of my LinkedIn network and because of all of the people that I was talking to, that didn't last long. I realized,
because you've been doing it right for a long time. I think it's because you were doing it right. And something you summarized, Doug, is people doing more of the right stuff or learning some new tactics. I think something I've seen with people that have been, I say, networking or building their network, building relationships. I've seen it more like what we're seeing is people that were doing it right are now really emphasizing doing it right more often.
But
that's now
funny,
the normal, and that's what I think we're seeing here.
But what's funny, and I'd like to hear what you guys think. Maybe end on this. It was my network that helped me push out of that. I almost fell into that trap of throttling down, pulling back. But for me, I don't know what it is for you fellas, but for me, it was my network that gave me the kind of push that I needed to keep going. So that's the other benefit of it too. Sometimes you're just not doing, it's not always about who you're going to do business with. It's just about the fact that the other day I had coffee with Marc and he got me pumped up. He was able to give me that little spark that day that I needed, because it's hard to find. Those sparks are hard to find these days.
Sure.
Yeah. I call them rabbits. I like the Greyhound horse, the Greyhound dogs. They're chasing those rabbits, and people like Dan Kaufman, Reno Richards, everyone on this virtual meeting right here are the rabbits that I'm chasing. You're clearing the paths, you're putting examples out there, and every little thing you do out there sparks another thought and another way to post. But it's not my network, because you know what, you're the 5 people you hang around with. All these people that I'm talking about, I didn't know 60 days ago, 90 days ago.
Right.
So it's the new network. It's always looking for that next person who's doing something. And oh man, there's so many people. I almost scare them off by, hey, man, I love this.
Yeah, you gotta know how to lay that in there, you know.
I've learned, but it's just about going out and sticking your pride aside and saying, I admire what you're doing. Give a few minutes for me to ask your questions. I had great 2 calls yesterday with some people that were volunteers and went to Israel, and now he's a motivational speaker, and we just talked about the changes. So it's amazing. You know?
Well, Marc and his dad talk about this too, and I have to be conscious of it. You know, you have to go in without, the agenda is not, you have to go in, the agenda is connected. You know, the first and foremost, make the connection, reach out to people, and just do it sincerely. You know, it's the people who are doing it all wrong are the people who are trying to build their network and connect with people, and their agenda is, you know, from the beginning, they have an agenda. Right now, yeah, not the time to do that now at all.
There's nothing wrong with wanting to do business. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do business. There's everything wrong with that being the reason you connect with people.
Exactly.
And then even the process, and I'll end on this, because I think the summary of what I think a lot of the common thread that we all have is we want to be connecting meaningfully. I think that we're all agreeing that some of these new changes only push us back to rediscover the fundamentals, you know, and we just get new tools to then execute those fundamentals. So I think we're all in agreement with that. There's some links for how to get a hold of everybody here. The gist is we're looking to continue networking in our different overlapping circles out there with people that want to network the same way. And we take the time to build those relationships and learn so that we can share and make really good introductions and fully recommend each of these people in their fields, which we've all done. We've taken the time to know how and who they do business with. So I recommend working with all these guys. Guys, thanks so much for taking some time. I always love chatting, and I think taking some time to just document some of these thoughts we have is real helpful. When I see you guys doing this, those the huddles, the different things you're putting out on social, Jeremy, of your travels, Doug, the videos about what you're doing. You talk about being an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur within corporate. You know, you're a corporate entrepreneur.
Entrepreneur. Sure. I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys all bring. Yeah, you guys bring so much to your network. So hats off to you. Parting thought from anyone, and then we'll wrap up.
So
thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Anybody who gets to see this and go, oh yeah, they did what? They know how to use a tool. Contact any of us. Any of us would love to spend 30 minutes with you, just telling you how to do something a little better. And if there's at least nothing else, just that, we'd love to do it.
There you go.
I'm just so happy to have folks, you know, guys like you in my network, and it just helps. Sometimes you just need that little quick conversation with somebody to help keep you going, and each of you have helped me in with that. So I appreciate it, and I think it's worth it. You know, that's the other thing people have to appreciate.
Nobody does it alone. You know, that's been the motto for decades and centuries is that it takes a village. So who's in your village is critical. And so it's never been easier to build your village, but build it the right way.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk again real soon.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.